What could make Facebook a nicer place than radical leftists running around screeching at everyone that they're a racist, xenophobe, Islamophobic, sexist, misogynist bigot? I tell you what, that's what I would think would make Facebook better. And so thank goodness the BBC have directed my attention to hashtag I am here, or in German, Ich bin hier. I probably pronounced that terribly. But this is a German initiative that the BBC have found and picked up and are trying to bring to the UK. So, a network of tens of thousands of online volunteers is fighting hate speech on Facebook. They organise under the slogan hashtag I am here, but they don't give the German version. It's 7:30 in Berlin, and Nina's alarm clock is going off. Before getting breakfast and getting up and making breakfast for her 13-month-old daughter who is sleeping in the next room, she reaches for her phone. Fine. Unlike many of us, Nina's not checking her emails, the news, or looking at gossip sites or posting photos. Instead, every day Nina opens up Facebook and heads straight for the closed group Ich bin hier. Nina is part of an international movement working to find and combat hate speech on the platform. She and her fellow I Am Here members spend their spare time scanning Facebook for conversations happening on big pages, often run by mainstream media organisations, which are overwhelmed with racist, misogynistic or homophobic comments. They don't attempt to change the minds of the people posting hate or argue directly with extremists. This is just how we're defining people who disagree with us now. We have defined you to be racist, misogynistic, or homophobic, or Islamophobic, or whatever. You are now an extremist, and that's how we're going to report you in the BBC. But we just assume they're just extremists. Don't worry about it, right? Instead, they collectively inject discussions with facts and straightforwardly argued reasonable viewpoints. The idea is to provide balance so that other social media users see there are alternative perspectives beyond the ones offered up by the trolls. Oh, they're not even human. They just live under fucking bridges. But what on earth do they think they're commenting on? So they are just going to sit there and parrot the thing that has been commented, like a BBC article or something like this, or some German equivalent, where they're giving a left-wing, progressive, politically correct narrative, and there are people saying, "Well, I disagree with that for these reasons." And she's like, "No, this is the official right thing that you're supposed to be parroting, and if you don't agree, now it's my job to put that in the comment sections." But the reason they do this is because they know that the comment sections are actually important. This is why dissenter is an important thing. I haven't had time to use it recently, to be honest, but the way things are going, I think we're probably all going to be stuck there in the end, aren't we? But anyway, those trolls are not providing any balance to the propaganda that we're putting out, and so we have to put more propaganda in these comments, and thankfully we have these volunteers. They also say they don't target conservative views or any other mainstream opinions. Instead, I am here activists. I'm sure they're like Antifa. Listen, revolutionary communism has just never worked. Let me explain to you why we need a more centrist liberal position. I'm sure they're doing that all the time. But anyway, there are tens of thousands of them in groups across Europe and around the world who say their mission is to change the overall tone of online debate, counteract hate storms, and that sounds terrifying, doesn't it? And make Facebook a nicer place overall. And the social media giant has picked up on the phenomenon. Facebook has provided them with free advertising credits and helps them organise meetups as part of its online civil courage initiative. I'm sure there is no political bias involved in here at all. So this is Nina, 39, from Germany. Her husband is from Uganda. They have both felt angry and scared for what they perceive as a rise in racist, anti-immigrant rhetoric on social media over the past few years. So she married an immigrant or a refugee or whatever, and there are people who are like, well, okay, but we need to have less immigrants into the country because it's changing the country in ways that we could easily predict, to be honest. And she doesn't like that. That's racist, I guess. As a couple in this still very white Germany, we are exposed in a way, really. Germans are bigoted against multiracial couples, are they? I don't think they fucking are. I bet they don't give a damn. And I love the way still very white Germany. You can just hear the disappointment dripping off that, can't you? Still very white. Of course it is. It's Germany. It's filled with ethnic Germans who, I guess, unfortunately for Nina, have white skin. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Okay, I'm not even going to be like, what are they supposed to do with it? Because you never know what the Germans will get in their minds, do you? I think our feeling is that we have to change something got stronger. I cannot imagine my daughter growing up and reading all these things. I do not want this culture. So she's just outright rejecting the fact that there are people in her country who are not happy with the way things are going. It's too white, you see? It's too white. So it started in Sweden, unsurprisingly, by an Iranian-born journalist. Around 3 years ago, she says she noticed social media becoming, as she describes it, flooded with hatred, so she began to counter misogynistic and racist comments in a calm, non-aggressive way. So in the defense of this movement, this is the best way that they can actually try and do what they want to do. This is the least invasive, frankly, least oppressive and not censorious way of doing it. I have to say, I actually completely applaud it. Now, I think that they're just a bunch of radical leftists, as you can see by the way that they describe themselves. The Swedish group grew to 75,000 members, so I can believe that. They stick to fighting hate speech, which is a radical left-wing concept. Facebook defines this as direct attack on people based on protected characteristics. Well, that's the ideological crux right there. If we're going to have protected characteristics, why are they these ones? Why don't we have other protected characteristics, like whether you're good looking or not, or whether you're tall or short, whether you're a person who happens to like posting spicy memes? That could be a protected characteristic. A protected characteristic could be anything we want it to be, but in this case, it happens to be the characteristics that the intersectionalists are all very concerned about: race, ethnicity, national origin, religious affiliation, sexual orientation, caste, sex, gender identity, and serious disease or disability. Just, I love this religious affiliation thing as well. This is amazing. It's like that is not the same as the rest. People change their religious affiliation if they want, if they're persuaded by arguments, because religious affiliation is a system of beliefs. Your race, your ethnicity, your national origin, your sexual orientation, blah, 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 blah. The rest of them are not beliefs. The rest of them are inherent things about you that, I guess you could say, the gender as well. But for the sake of this argument, we're going to define these as being essential characteristics to you, but your religious affiliation isn't. It's like saying, well, I'm sorry, you can't criticize me because I'm a socialist, because I have a conviction that I'm a socialist and I don't want to change it. It's like, well, then that's your fault. That's your problem. If you believe this and you cling to this for whatever emotional reasons, that's not my problem, because it's a system of ideas and I'm allowed to critique ideas. But it's a protected characteristic now, so I guess I'm not. The German group Ich Bin Here had 45,000 members, blah, blah, blah. Dealing with the backlash. Further digging made it clear that many users creating and liking hateful comments were just as organized and targeted as I Am Here. You just define all this as evil. You are defining yourselves as the Gondorians, and them literally as the bloody orcs in Lord of the Rings. And that's how they're portraying this. These are people. These are your countrymen who are saying, look, we're not happy. We don't like what you're doing or the things you think. And you're saying, well, these are just troll armies that bring themselves together in almost semi-military style hierarchies. All right, yeah. Okay, yeah. It's an army of trolls. And maybe it is, right? So the numbers have been wildly inflated as far as I can see. The German one has 16,000 people. The English one has less than 2,000 people. Members 1,974. That's after the BBC's positive coverage as well. And this is the sort of thing they have. Hate is not an opinion. No. That's exactly what hate is. It's exactly what it is. You are concerned about people's opinions that you find hateful. People are allowed to have hateful opinions. They should be allowed anyway. People should be free to dislike something if they want. That's not your job to change it. Like, I mean, what are you going to do? How are you going to police their thoughts? Are you just going to police the expression of these thoughts and just assume that this is somehow connected to, this is going to somehow just put them in their place? Is that it? Is it? But anyway, this is something that's obviously going to be supported by the establishment, and the people who have been defined as the evil enemy that must be defeated will be eventually censored and scrubbed off the platforms, because fuck you, that's why we find you hateful, even if you might be making valid points.